record button.
Okay, stand by. Okay, we'll be right back. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Columbus. Welcome back to Ask Our Parent Coach. I'm Terry Manrique.
And I'm Alina Greif.
And today's show is brought to you by Working with Parents, Central Ohio's leading parenting experts and coaches, where we create a safe place for parents to seek help, support on topics such as parenting, relationships, communication, and emotional intelligence. So if you're a parent or thinking about becoming a parent, then this show is perfect for you. We offer in-home sessions here in Central Ohio, phone sessions, online courses, and group coaching. So for more information, feel free to visit workingwithparents.com. Good morning, Alina. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Terry. I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
So I'm ready to start today's conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a couple of parents from our first show. If you didn't get to hear that, we had a couple of parents reach out to us and ask us, well, this is a pretty new concept, I believe, as far as parent coaching, and I think a lot of people really don't understand really what that is. So we thought, let's start our second show with kind of addressing that and what is a parent coach and how do we actually support families and what that looks like for the clients that hire us.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. I think that's a great way to start our show today. Since our show is called Ask Our Parent Coach, we want to make sure that you guys understand what is a parent coach. Parent coaches are emerging as a new way for parents to gain support for a variety of parenting issues. And unlike psychologists or psychotherapists who treat and diagnose mental health conditions, what we do as coaches, we behave more as consultants. We provide tools, ideas, and most importantly, support to parents for any kind of underlying issues, questions, anything they need help with when it comes to parenting. So let's face it, right? We all know that parenting is the hardest thing that you can do. It is also the most rewarding thing that people experience. So what we want to help you with is minimize the challenges you're facing in your parenting and maximize the rewards, the connections, the joy that can come from parenting. That's why we're here to support you through all of those stress-related parenting issues. We provide practical solutions. We provide practical tips. We help with developmental activities to make sure that we give you strategies that really support your child's physical, emotional, and social development as well. We also help you understand how your own parenting past, how you were parented as a child, impacts the way you parent your own kids. This is really important to understand that a lot of times those patterns that are so ingrained in your subconscious from the way you were parented, they're going to manifest themselves in the way you parent, especially when you get triggered, right? Those emotional outbursts or the times of stress when you have emotional reactivity, all that comes from the way you were parented. And those generational patterns that go from generation to generation until someone at some point decides to make a change and say, look, this is not working. I don't like the way I was parented in this particular way. I'm going to change the way I react and the way I handle my own kids and those emotional reactive states. Because let's face it, you are not going to be able to teach your kids to self-regulate, to remain calm, to handle stress, if you're not able to model that behavior, right? So that is very important, and that is something that we work very hard helping parents understand the emotional reactivity and how it impacts their own kids.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing is that we're starting to see therapy to become cool, right?
Yes,
It's actually, people are starting to benefit and understand the true meaning of what therapy is for a lot of families, right? So I think, or people in general, and when you go to therapy, it's really how to, analyze things that are happening in your life and how do you cope with it, right? How do you deal with these stressors? How do you deal with these issues? And parent coaching is the same thing, and we take it actually to another level that most parent coaches don't. So we're more about a holistic approach, right? Because we know that just like with your health, right, there's several components that you actually have to do in order to really make some changes in your health, right? So I always compare parent coaching to a health program or weight loss, right? You know, just because I gained 25 pounds, 30 pounds, or whatever, it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person, right? It doesn't mean that I, you know, don't care about myself or I don't care, but it does kind of go into, well, why am I not taking the time to take care of myself? More of that psychological component, that mental health. Why am I not worth it? Why am I not, you know, putting this effort in it, right? So parent coaching is the same thing. You know, society has kind of made it seem to be, oh, you're, you know, just deal with it. Just figure it out.
Or you're supposed to know what you're doing, right? You're just supposed to know. But the truth is, you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know.
You really don't.
And it blows my mind because we take so much time to do professional development.
Yes.
We take so much time to do personal development, all these extra things, but we really don't take the time to really evaluate our household and how that's impacting our family, right? So that's why parents, when I have clients who come to me and they say, well, how do I know if I need a parent coach? Like, how do you know when you need one? And one of the questions I ask, you know, parents is, or potential clients is, well, it really comes down to your reaction and how you react and what is causing you when you are in these moments with your children. What is your response and how do you respond to them? Is it causing you anxiety? Is it causing you stress? Are you becoming a yeller? Are you creating a household that you're following old patterns in?
Right. And I just want to add to this. I really have always believed that you are responsible for the energy you bring into the room. And as a parent, that is so, so true. You are responsible for the energy you bring to your family. You're responsible for the environment that you're helping to create in your home. And I think one of the most important things we can do as parent coaches is to really offer parents emotional support. Because when you are feeling unsure and you are overwhelmed and you are stressed, your kids are going to feel that energy. You are going to come across as someone who is overwhelmed and unsure and stressed. And what do you think is going to happen to your kids? They're going to pick up on this and they're going to start acting in those same exact ways, because it's like a mirror in which you're looking at what you are projecting into your family is what you're going to get back.
And you're also going to, you know, that same reflection is they're watching of how you're treating each other as a couple, right? And so when we say we're a holistic approach, we also talk about the relationship, right? We want to make sure that we are dealing with the couple's relationship and how they're modeling positive responses to each other when they're in an argument or when they're in a conflict, right? Having those skills to learn how to communicate effectively to each other, how to react to negative situations that are in the home, that's another component that we bring to the table, which a lot of parent coaches don't, because we're both certified in relationship coaching as well, and we really understand that it's not just fixing one problem. So that's why when we have a challenging child in the home, we tend to say, all right, let's take the child to early intervention, or let's take the child to a behavior specialist, or let's take the child to a therapist. And maybe that may still be the case, but you may need to do both, right? Because the truth is that it's the entire household that really has to make the change. It's not just one person, right? So even if you're going to marriage counseling, you're most of the time, you know, there's a topic that we'll go deeper into, but we call it the PMS, right?
Yes. Do you know what PMS stands for?
I don't know. Tell us.
Oh, I'd be very happy to tell you. So they say that most couples, actually all couples really, fight about PMS. And what it stands for is parenting, money, and sex.
Yep.
Those are the 3 topics that most couples really fight about. So number 1 is parenting.
So one number is parenting. So if you're in a relationship and you're having difficulties with your parenting and you've never had this conversation into a deeper level about how you're going to raise your child, and that's how your child starts to understand who the good cop, bad cop is, then they really start to learn how to manipulate the couple, the family, right? They learn how to manipulate the parents. So we get into this other cycle of bad behaviors, right, from the child to manipulating one parent to the other, and then you have conflict within the parent. So now the parents are arguing about
And
how we're raising our
fighting,
kids.
yes.
So then they go to couples therapy.
Yeah.
But we're not really talking about the whole picture, and that therapist is really only focusing on the couple's relationship, not really digging deeper until, well, let's dig deeper about the actual situation of what's going on with your children and how you're raising them and implementing things with your children.
And also teaching them coping strategies, right? So we have so many parents that come to Terry and I, and one of the main complaints or one of the main reasons they contact us is to say, look, my partner and I don't agree on parenting. We don't agree on consequences. We don't agree on on allowances, whatever those parenting issues are. So what we do as parenting coaches, we don't just dive into the parenting issues right away, but we teach the couple how to resolve those conflicts, how to work together so they're a united front in front of their kids and they at least agree on all the main issues. But without having the tools, without understanding how to resolve conflict, without knowing how to have those difficult conversations that couples have to have with each other, it's really going to be an uphill battle for them, because now they're not just fighting with their kids all the time, they're constantly fighting with each other. And the whole family is in turmoil, right? And we see this all the time.
And again, like you said, it's a repetitive cycle that happens, right? We learn only from who taught us, right? So whether, and again, when you go back to your history of how your parents were parented, it's a cycle. How were they parented, right? And then how were they parented? So it's generation after generation after generation. So at some point, we do want to make, the effort to break that cycle. And it doesn't mean, I think this is another thing that's been a little confusing for parents is they say, I don't want to parent like my parents parented me, right? So then we go into, well, now we're over compassionate to our kids and we're giving them everything under the sun. So we're still, we're not quite balanced yet.
Yeah,
right?
So going from, okay, so the good news is you know what you don't want. Okay, but how do you discover what works? How do you discover an alternative strategy that you know would work with your kids? If you have been exposed to the way you were parented and that is all you know, unless you have hundreds and hundreds of hours to read every parenting book there is, and also, by the way, a lot of them contradict each other and they don't all agree.
Yes.
So there's all kinds of theories on parenting.
Yep.
How are you going to figure this out?
Right. Yeah, and we don't have time. I mean, we have online courses as well, and here's the truth about online courses: they're phenomenal, but really the truth is people don't take. They sign up for these courses, and half of us even finish it. That's that's the reality, really.
I've done it myself many times.
Yes, so parent coaching is different because we go into giving you strategies quicker, faster, and dive deep a lot. Just dive deep.
Yes, and based on what is real for you today, what is the actual issue? What is the actual problem? It could be, my older child, I don't know how to talk to them about sex. What can you recommend, right? That could be one topic that we can tackle in one of our sessions. It could be my toddler would not sleep, refuses to sleep at night and is always coming into our room. What do we do? So whatever issues you have with your kids, we handle those issues. We work with parents. We help them with research-based, proven strategies that we know work. And again, Terry and I really believe in research, and we believe in science behind some of those suggestions that we're giving you. So whatever we advise or, the tools, the techniques we give you, they're all based on research that we know this is what works. And this is what is appropriate for the developmental stage of your child.
So I want to touch a little bit about professional development for some of the folks that are out there who are in the corporate world. How so much of this applies to their families at home that we really don't look into. So as far as like, you know, developing relationship skills, self-awareness, being, you know, setting goals, right?
Mhm.
So I don't, you know, do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that kind of plays off of each other?
Yeah, so, you know, I actually have quite a lot of experience teaching emotional intelligence in a corporate setting. And a lot of those tools and techniques that I'm teaching when I teach those classes in the corporate, you know, in the corporations, they have to do with self-awareness, self-regulation, you know, decision-making, self-management, and all of those tools and all of those techniques apply to how you interact with your kids. When you teach leadership, and we all know, you know, if you guys have ever taken any kind of leadership classes at work, they always tell you that it's not the control. Like if you're a manager and you're trying to control your subordinates, it's not going to work, right? It's only going to work very short term until they leave and resign. You're going to cause a drop in morale because nobody likes to be told what to do and controlled. A much better strategy is by modeling the correct behavior and influence, right? It is really having the respect of your associates. It's really learning how to have that influence, right? You can only have influence if you have respect. If you have respect, you have to model certain behaviors in the workplace. Otherwise, you're going to lose respect of people very fast. And what always fascinated me is, why do we think that our kids don't deserve the same exact treatment,
yes,
right?
Very much.
We tell our managers when we work with, you know, the new managers who are, you know, having like direct reports, we tell them, look, you have to listen with empathy. You have to learn to be compassionate. You have to learn to be respectful. But then we go home and we forget all those skills we learn in the workplace, and we try to coerce, we try to control, we try to punish, we try to scream and yell at our kids, thinking that this is a better strategy. How? You know?
Yeah, and I think the thing too is that we expect our kids to respond so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, we know they don't have that capability to do that. That it's gonna take. It takes kids some time, especially if they're 5 and under. It takes them a minute, or you know, it takes some time to process that.
What you're telling
and
them.
you know, we expect their response to be immediate, like right now, get up and do this. We gotta go. We gotta move. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. You know, you're not moving fast enough. I mean, can you imagine living in that environment in the workplace?
Telling you this
Exactly.
Constantly, you're not doing this fast enough. What's
Hurry
up
up,
with
let's
this?
go.
Where
We
is
have
this?
10
Where is
minutes.
that?
I'm running late because my time management is poor.
Right.
So if my time management is poor because I'm running late because I didn't get up early enough, now I got to hurry up and rush you because you're not doing your job. So I have a deadline, and I forgot to tell you that you have this deadline. But we need to get this deadline out right now.
Yeah. How's that going to work?
Can you
For
imagine
how
the
long?
anxiety that you're going to have?
Yes.
And how unhappy you would be in the workplace?
Yes.
I cannot imagine living in that kind of
Right.
work environment.
Right. Neither can I.
But yet we do this all the time in the
with our
home.
kids, right?
And
We
it's
lose-
so, if you take just a second, let's just take 1 second to stop and process that. I mean, really think about that. Who would you go to a work environment where you had your boss or your leader
screaming at you.
treat you the same way,
Yeah.
and have these expectations of you with little to no notice, to even give you time to transition where you are and what you're doing? I mean,
No.
I'm like right now. I'm like my body is. I feel like I'm having anxiety right now, kind of
Right.
being in that kind of an environment.
And if you ever worked for a boss like this, you know what a miserable experience that is, right?
And you're gonna bring that home to your family.
If you don't learn better strategies of coping with your emotional meltdowns and your own emotional reactivity that you bring into the family.
Yeah. So I just, I think our main thing here is that we want you to just take the second to stop and think. stop and think for a second when you're especially if you're not doing this at an early age and implementing these tools and strategies and techniques to your kids, between the early ages. That's why early childhood development is so important. And I think we don't really realize how important, how much that impacts our kids later on in life, right? We just think, oh, it's the early years, no big deal. No, that's the
foundation.
That's the biggest time to make these kinds of changes.
This is
right?
what forms their personality, their concept of themselves, their confidence in themselves, their abilities. Those are like the main crucial years.
Yeah. And that's why I always, you want to set your children up for success. You want to set your relationship up for success, right? So you always want to look forward. What can we do moving forward to create a better environment for us, right? So we're kind of getting close to the end. So I kind of want to just wrap up with one of the questions that I had. Quite a bit people responded was, we have our biggest challenge is following through. We have a hard time following through, which especially for those who have children who are, from, under 5 years old. The thing is about compassion, the CPR philosophy, and why compassion is such a great way for you to still have the authority, but still be this is where you can have a little bit of the old school with how the new parenting is, right? So you still have that ability to have that discipline, but have that discipline with respect, right, and with patience. So you can easily, say and stand your ground and say, listen, buddy, I'm sorry. We always say the rule of 3: set the expectation, set the consequence, follow through. And one of the things that when you do that is you're letting your children know, and you're setting them up for success, because after that they decide on their own what the consequence is going to be, what their choice is going to be. But it's following through and keeping your word that's going to make the difference, right? So if you tell your child, if you want to go outside and play, that's fine, but you're going to have to clean up the kitchen table because you have all your toys there, then you can go out and play with your friends. Well, I don't want to. Well, that's a choice you made. That's fine, but you're not going to, be able to go outside. But I want to go outside. Well, that's great. Go ahead. You can go outside, but you're going to have to clean the table.
Yes.
And then what happens? Either the parent is so tired that they're like, forget it, go ahead, go outside, because one, you're out of my hair, you're out of my hair, and I don't want to hear you complaining anymore. So then now the child has kind of set up the tone of saying, okay, well, now I manipulated the situation by cause and effect, trial and error, and I know this worked for me. So I know that they're going to clean up after, right? So what do? You have to be compassion and say, buddy, I'm sorry, and you have to stick with your rules and your natural consequences, and say sorry, and let them have the moment, let them have the tantrum, let them do what they have to do, but eventually they will realize that, okay, they're not going to give it, because your word matters and your credibility matters. So you have to be credible, and if you don't start earning credibility, your kids are still going to continue crossing that line, which is a natural thing for them to do. So you can be compassionate by saying, I'm so sorry, buddy, I know this is really what you wanted to do, I get it, but this is what we have to do, I'm sorry.
And in the workplace, so imagine a situation where you have a very compassionate boss, and you come to work every day and he's asking you, how's your weekend? How are your kids? How are your parents? Like, having really nice conversations. There's so much compassion, but there's absolutely no accountability, right? So imagine like you are coming to work, you're having really great connection, and your boss is very empathetic, but he never ever asks you about any kind of work or deliverables. He doesn't hold you accountable for your own growth and development and actually doing any work, right? So you come to work, have great conversations, you end up surfing the internet, you're having a great day, you come home, you've done absolutely nothing, and your boss is fine with this. Like, would that fly? Not really, right? So it's about, what we teach parents is, look, you have to be compassionate, but compassion comes with accountability. Just like we expect your managers, in a workplace, you've got to hold each other accountable. This is what I tell my team sometimes at work. Look, we have to hold each other accountable for the promises we make, for the commitments we make, because they matter, right? This is what we're doing. This is our job. It's the same with our kids. you know, we have to hold them accountable for the promises, for the commitments, for going to school, but we have to do so with compassion and empathy. And that is the key, right? Sometimes people misunderstand us, thinking that we're trying to say, look, anything goes, you're compassionate, you're loving, but you don't have any consequences.
But your kids are walking all over you. No,
that is
that's not okay.
not our
That's
strategy.
not our strategy, and that's not realistic. We don't want kids, you know, learning this and saying it's okay for me to bully you as my parent and then not bully kids at school, right? Because that's how you're learning, is that I can manipulate you. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that you can still be the authority without the screaming, without the yelling, and
Without the
actually,
threats and
it's
intimidation.
actually so much better. But you have to kind of learn where your child's coming from, and you have to do the work. But we'll dive deep into that. For you know, we have so many other topics that we're going to continue this conversation. But unfortunately, we are running out of time. I mean, we can just keep going, right? That's why we're doing this on a weekly basis for you. But you know, how do you want to, I mean, I think that's the main thing, you know, stay strong. And, you know, like one of the things that we say is, you know, be strong, be consistent, be confident in what you're doing. And the more confidence you build, the stronger you're going to get. And the more your child's going to start to respect you because they know that you are doing your job as the parents.
Absolutely.
And that's why being a parent is the hardest job.
Yes.
Right?
But don't fret. We're here to support you.
That's right.
So if you need any kind of help or you have questions for us, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our email is info@ourparentcoach.com. You can visit us on our website, workingwithparents.com. You can visit us on our social media sites if you search for Working with Parents. We're here to help you in any way we can.
That's right. So remember to apply the CPR philosophy throughout the day with compassion, patience, and respect with those you come around with.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
We will talk
Thank
to you
you.
next week.